Okay, I guess we should go ahead and start. My name is Matt. Yes, I'm president of Steele Products. I really appreciate you guys showing up. But it's going to make it nice because this way we can devote a lot of time to what your issues are and answer any kind of question you might have. This is Eric Saltrick. He's my marketing VP, and Joanna Shear is in sales. So if you got any questions too. Maybe like a commercial program we have, we'll address those too. First of all, let me get an idea of who you are and what you do, so that maybe tailor this a little bit. And now you do that on your own, or is it on your no, you don't have to give your name. You can what do you do?
I work at a hot dog shop.
Okay.
I do all the body things.
Okay. Well, good.
What's it? Oh, we're 40 miles south of here.
Okay. Very good.
Definitely was fun.
A lot of cars come through your shop.
Mainly in Boston.
Of course. Right?
Once this stuff done before anybody else.
Well, you do mostly fiberglass stuff? Steel body?
Still body,
Yeah, it's tough as rubber, you're going to find it.
My name is Jim, and I'm in aftermarket distribution of automotive.
Okay. Good. We got some nice edging seals. So you're sharp sheet metal on fixing it.
Let's not buy all my
All right.
I'm a park rider on the road.
Did you give me an idea of, are you a shop or an individual store? Or,
Individual.
Okay. What kind of cars
I have, my owner is a 64 pounder.
All right.
And he needs tall gaskets.
I really like him on this.
I can't afford all your gaskets. Four-door.
It's a four-door.
That makes one worse.
That's double. And
My
you,
buddy tells me a nice car, but it's got too many doors.
And you, sir, do you have a shop or you work on a car?
Individual on a freelance rate.
Oh, okay, great. And do you write automotive articles? Or
Yes.
Good.
That's right, please.
Real good. Real good. Is there any particular subject you want me to touch on? Any issues that you might have in your restoration or your shop that you might want?
Is there a particular segment we carry in terms of aftermarket products? We're in Washington, Michigan.
Okay.
28.
Birds and territory.
Pardon?
Birds and territory.
That's it. Yeah. Actually, you're from Detroit. We got the old TRW headquarters building up there. Okay, that's me. But anyway, we're talking about 30,000 SPDs.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any particular era or brand that you see growth in, or is there growth in the product? What direction are you heading in? What do you see in your market to grow?
Well, the market keeps moving all the time. And a lot of it, as we get older, I grew up in the muscle car era. My father started a business and grew up in a classic car, 30s era. In fact, I can remember him once making a comment about the late 30s car, because he was a 31 Cadillac guy, and he liked all those tunes. And he saw those cars, those are black used cars. Just a few years later, he owned a few. He owned a 36 Cadillac Series 75, he owned a 41 Cadillac convertible, 46 convertible, 47. He kept going, on and on. And then at one time, back around the late 70s, early 80s, we were working on parts of 55, 56, 7 Chevys. And I said, we should really get into this and do a watch. You were doing some parts. He said, no, that's just a fad.
Like the internet.
It won't last very long, just a fad. And what I'm getting at is the market moves all the time. Right now it's muscle cars, and we can see it's going to move to cars of the 80s and even early 90s. As it moves, there's usually just certain little models that are going to do good, like the Grand Nationals. Those are going to be the first ones. and whatever convertibles, so in the seventies wasn't much in the way of convertibles in the late seventies. But some of the Oldsmobiles that had the first T-tops, you know, the W30s, with the big motors.
Cavalier convertible.
Yeah, Cavalier convertibles in the
Really?
late eighties.
Really? What about like 81, 85?
Yeah, those are popular. Those are
We
popular.
actually, we were ahead of the shark on that. I'm just interested because what we have the same thing, like we have tri-fi Chevy. We still probably do 800 to 900 cents of floors for those a year.
Yeah,
But we recently tooled the 81, 85 quarter panel, and now the roll-up and the door stem. And you're kind of ahead of the chart, but you know, it's one of the last rear-wheel
But
drive
that's
cars.
still-
Right. That
Yeah.
a kid can buy cheap. Same with the Regal, you know, the G-body. The G-bodies are kind of long.
right. Right now you're ahead, you're not really ahead of the curve. Ahead of the curve would have been several years ago when we started making parts for it. Now, they're actually organized, there's organized clubs that, you know, are restoring cars like that. Some of the cars that get, a lot of the cars, especially of the 80s, early 90s, are, you know, they're being restored, but they're, you know, the high wheel cars, they're called dogs.
Yeah.
But there's groups that, you know, like, I mean, about 4 years ago, we decided to make parts for a Pinto. And people go, what do you make parts for a Pinto? But you know, it's amazing how many Pinto owners are out there and how passionate they are about their cars.
I want them for 3.5.
Yeah, so they make parts from that. I'm working on right now on a Maverick swing out quarter wheels. That's Steele. That's a really severe to do. And that's in the shop.
Here's a question for you.
All right, Dave, I'm sorry, we're doing that.
Actually, this is probably the best way for the seminar to go, is to ask questions.
Yeah.
You have a lot of part numbers, and obviously a lot of the part numbers that you now carry are obsoleted and non-existent OEM part numbers.
Mhm.
We do the same thing with many of the stampings that we have. However, we've gone back and spent a lot of time on the effort on that, digging up to get the ACES data on this stuff.
Mhm.
And we are backfeeding anything that's, and that's one with GM or Chrysler or Ford into the system. And that's resulting in sales on a national basis because even though that OEM number doesn't exist at the dealers, you get that ACES data out and, you know, State Farm is going to be doing a restoration and they're looking, they're doing searches for
Yeah.
that stuff and they pop up.
Yeah, we have an extensive library, especially on the early stuff, and we had to set up our own ACES for, you know, back in the years when they didn't use your VIN number for all the information. So we've had to set up all that information. I think we go back into the teens on that. Yeah. So if you were to go on our website, you'll find that there's a search mechanism where you can search by year, make, model, and style, and get it right down to that particular part. You can do that? Oh, okay. You can see, here's our website homepage, and there's a search there. You can search by year. You know, pick a year.
So you pick a 54 truck and you buy some truck pretty exact.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it should be. The parts we make are all copied from the original. We won't make it if we have a good original copy. Even that, sometimes you get a little difference in, you know, one and the other.
Pick a year, Matt.
Let's go 41 Cadillac. I know that.
I'd like to set yourself. Yeah, so this database is based on ACES.
Yeah.
Actually, we were doing ACES before.
Before they were. Yeah. We'll explain that one.
Which series do you want?
62 is fine.
62.
That's where I went with
Yeah,
it.
convertible. Yeah, 62, 67. There you go. Is that affordable too? Yeah, and you'll find right up there, says we have 163 parts for that car. And they'll be listed pretty much from the most expensive down to the least expensive. But on the left-hand column is a table of contents, so you can go directly to the section that you want to go to. And so if you want taillights for it, you can see the right there. That one goes right there on top. Hooded cowl with a strip, front door with a strip. There's a, and then I'll tell you all vehicles that fits, that take that same number.
Kind of like a
If you back up one,
I like that.
it should have, I'm trying to think of what, see, some have master department, I'm trying to find.
Some do.
Then, go to the front door.
It might have it.
Yeah, there's a
And there's OEM numbers that it replaces. So, and you can search by OEM too. If you go to the very front page, right there on the top where it says search by number, by OEM number, by word, by everything else, that will take you to that part. And then from that part, and you find your matching vehicle, you can also go to all the other parts that we have for that particular vehicle. So it's a very useful little tool.
Can you talk about Callis's estimate?
Yeah.
Once upon a time,
I just ordered a rear window gasket.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I'm going to talk to Jake,
yeah,
and I told him, I don't know if the part number is the same or not. I'm looking in the catalog, and he said, oh, it's catalog, and I said, 2012, I think it was. And he said, hold on to it. We don't know how to print them. Everything is on our website.
In 2012 was the last printed thick catalog.
And it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. 600 pages, and that's why we went to this.
Understood now, yeah.
and one of the things that we're doing is going to show you guys these are custom personalized catalogs that are specific. I'll show you what these look like specifically for your make and model. So you're not having to flip through 600 pages. So if you had one specifically for
You know, technology thing is online, we can print on demand.
see a sample of what they'll look.
Put on that last catalog.
Go to the
So
website.
here's another. So we can go in by your make and
Go to
model
the website and
and
request
stop.
this.
You can, we can give that to
Call.
you. We can either give that to you like, you know, for your email, so you can have it immediately. And it's gonna look like this. And that's new as of like a week or two. It's gonna be very new. for
Yeah,
us.
right now, we can print out a page, you know, all those pages of parts, but it'll be in the catalog next week.
Yeah,
That's, you know,
but
that's.
it's gonna be like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do it either way, or,
All of the catalog gives you is the other extra stuff like the policies, the ship rates, and that, which can still
well,
be.
there's a couple of different things. One, you can search on the computer if you want to. Two, if you want to call us, and you don't want to bother with this, which sometimes you need to quickly have the stuff, we can send that to you via email specifically for your make.
Or
we
better
can
yet,
mail it
let's
to
say
you.
the parts.
Yeah, so we can do it anyway. Now, the other catalog we have,
And it's right on the homepage right here, if you need the part, right from the homepage, you just go in here. And that same ACES, when you were searching for parts, that's the exact same database of year, make, model, style, all of that. So that way we know for sure that you just get what's available.
ACES is a standard way of identifying vehicles. You know, it's a database format.
And if everybody uses a standard database format, which, you know, the industry is behind, then you can walk in any store, any hot shop, or any website, and say, I've got a 55 Chevy 2-door hardtop, and you can be 100% sure that the parts are getting at that car. If we're all on the same standard.
Some people are very proprietary with their data.
Yeah.
Hollander, they're big Carl Steele is cryptically dumpster dive.
Doesn't help anybody.
But, you know, yeah, I was going to help anybody, and usually you can find that same information, you know, through looking at some various different sources. So,
but what happens if you're working on something that you're being creative? You know, a street rod or something that, you know, standard is not going to be helpful for you. We also offer a universal catalog, and that's all of our products that we sell. Extrusions by the foot, universal bumpers, grommets, our peel and stick line, which is we have a line of products with adhesive cleaning and backing. Yeah. Which you can see some samples in, you know, after you want to compare touch feel, you know, you guys like to touch these.
yeah, you know, one of the things I have to say, when you're talking about SKUs, we manufacture over 12,000 SKUs for specific use, for specific vehicle, you know, make model style. But out of those, we've got about, I'd say 4,500 they could have other applications, almost universal applications. And that's what this catalog does. Takes those other ones and also allows you to buy it in a way that you can use it, you know, for a universal application.
And we
It doesn't have to be in a car, it could be on a motorhome, could be on a boat,
An
could
RV.
be, you know.
This is broken down by dense, which is typically the type of rubber you use for your, you know, glass channel type of rubber or something similar. Sponge, which is going to be more your cushy, you know, door weather strip, trunk weather strip type. Then we've just recently added clinch seal, which is the type of rubber that has the metal insert in there, which a lot of late models are using. And all that is in here. And if there's something that you're always thinking, maybe this will work for me, please call us. We send samples out all the time. We want to be able to help you and make sure it's going to work for you before you purchase. But, and then we have our peel and stick, which is real popular amongst our street rod guys. They really like it. It sticks really good. We only use 3M adhesive on it to make sure that product's going to work for what you need. And some of the other recent products we've done is a rubber edging piece. You was talking about with your sheet metal, some different pieces there that you can get, and then some glass sealing T-rubber.
You bundle in your products, so it would be so-and-so like a paint kit. So somebody's just running a car, they don't have to, you just say, I want everything that fits my
Kids. We are actually working on
57 convertible Chevy. I want, you know, we're dipping the car. I want everything there is for the car. And the computer fits the system, those 50 packs and
Yeah.
shit.
You can either go through, you know, we can go through the list and that'll have everything, right down to the little bumper and a ground chassis or whatever. We also have what we call
it's body kit and glass kit.
Yeah.
Now, that still is not every part we have for that vehicle, because there's some things that are just, you know, they're under the chassis, or something that maybe you need to make a decision on because you need to choose the size or something like that. But for tripod Chevys, we've just recently come out with glass kits, so everything that take your car to a glass shop, everything you
The
need.
list of what's in the kit.
And then we also just recently came up with a body kit. But it's definitely not completely inclusive of everything we have, because we just offer such a breadth of product.
And we have a basic kit. The basic kit usually just seals your door, you know, quarter window of the truck. That's a basic kit. And then from that, you can step up depending on what you need.
And that's what makes those custom catalogs so much better than the old 600-page catalog. So if you're looking at this 57 Bel Air, the first parts that are going to show up are going to be the kits. So you're going to have that option of here's what the kits are, and then what's in the kits, and then the individual parts. And the piece that you don't see in those custom catalogs that we think is really cool about them is not only is it only the parts for that 57 Bel Air, but whoever you talk to Jake. Well, Jake can put notes in that catalog for you, so anything you talk to him on the phone about, if you said, well, I need this, but I don't need that, he'll put those notes in the catalog, or he'll highlight what you should buy for it. So he can put not just this kit together, but he can put a kit just for you together with special notes in that catalog.
I was in the Bible, save money too. You know, if you buy it already from the
Makes it much easier.
I was impressed with his knowledge of his product, which reflects great on you guys.
And you know, he's a nice guy.
I almost ordered the wrong gasket
Yeah.
because I had this reveal that goes in after the window's installed. I didn't think anything about it because I had to cut the damn thing out. So you know you're going to trash the rubber, which is 66 years old anyway. And he said, what year is it? And I said, 48. And he said, well, then you have the reveal mold in it. I said, well, yeah, that came out with the glass. And he said, 46 and 47 doesn't have that. The part that you're giving me is not what we want unless you don't want to use that stainless trim. I mean, he knew my car better than I did.
Yeah.
And I apologize for hijacking your subject, but that reflects well on you. And I don't know this guy from that.
But any of our customer service people, they will do that.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to Jake.
Yeah. You know, we've got some ladies that work up in that department. Yeah, we've had guys call and say, no, you know, I want to talk to one of the guys.
Right.
And I'm like, well, they're busy. Can I help you? Well, I don't know if you can help me, but this is it, and the next thing you know, they find out that girl knows more about their car than they do. And it just
Our most
blows them
senior
away.
customer service agent.
Yeah, but they're really good. They're really good at knowing, you know, how those cars are put together. Again, we've got cars that we show them how, you know, as they go through the whole training process. And so they learn.
Well, that's important, and they
One of our
know
girls
what
is
they're talking about.
16 Cougar right now. You know, she's getting in there and actually doing the job, you know.
We do technical trainings once a month where if we don't have a car, we're watching videos, you know, so that they see the job. You know, obviously don't have access to every single car, but at least everyone knows what goes in the factory video. We're going to be watching this month is run channel and vent window replacement. So that they can see what goes into that job and understand what the restorer goes through.
Yeah, and they'll tell you things like, well, like what I told you a little bit ago. What was it, 39? Let's say 38 or so. 39. You know, you want to know about the vet number. Well, if you're going to get into a door to do other work, put a run channel or whatever, you want to do everything in that door. You think about that and back in it after it's all painted, looking really good. Then you go, oh, that vet number won't look to you. Now I got to go out. Well, you have to take that door apart to take the vet number frame out to be able to do the vet number. There's no easy way around it. And so, you know, you want to know that, and our people, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'll let you know that, hey, you know what you're going to get into when you get into that job.
You're doing this, well, you better do this while you're at it.
Yeah, because you're going to hate yourself later if you don't. You know, regardless of whether you get the parts from us or not.
Your presentation of installing the move,
We've got some on YouTube. We've got a variety of YouTube videos that you can look at. I found one of the things that most people don't know how to do right is glue down weather strip. You know, and I've done a presentation before. I didn't bring it here because I wasn't sure exactly what we were going to do. But I took 2 3-pound aluminum blocks, and I took one aluminum block and just put 3M adhesive on it and put my piece down on it, like you normally would. And usually if it beats too much and you get a little bit coming out, it'll squirt out the side, as you know. You have a mess to clean up, but you let it sit. And if you do it that way, you need to let it sit 24 hours. The other method is you take the aluminum block, you know, where the weather strip's going to be.
No idea.
Yeah, I did this on Dennis's show. And, you know, you take a real thin bead of adhesive on the aluminum side, which we like your door body side, whatever, and a real thin bead of adhesive on the rubber. You kind of spread it, make sure it's real thin, let it get tacky. Then when you're ready to put it out, you put another bead just on one side, and you tack it on. It's almost
He's
like
doing it the wrong way right now, just so you know.
Yeah.
He's doing it too fast.
Right. And you can see, you know, it doesn't have a lot spread out. You can see a little bit coming out over the center.
Yeah, he's showing the wrong way to do it, and that's the wrong way to do it.
Dennis is acting surprised.
Well, Dennis is, yeah. But if you do it the right way, you'll have that thing locked down immediately. You can lift the block. If you try to lift it with the, you know, with the previous way of doing it, just the one bead, it'll start separating. You have
Here's what Matt taught me, is you see less is more. Don't, like when you tell the kids, don't use so much Elmer's glue.
you know, all the time, it's going to clean it up.
Yeah, and say in here, you won't have any cleanup with this either. Well, if you're doing it on a door, what I would use is little masking tape. Kind of mask off so you know exactly where you have to put that thing. And
Here's a question related to this. On my 64, when I did all the door rubber seals, did it the way you're saying, laid it down, let it get tacky. The other, on the rubber, the same thing. Because of the contour, there was a couple of spots where, you know, it made a double bend.
yeah,
Put it on, taped it. Long and short of it is, came off. It like, in one specific spot, the glue stuck to the glue, and then it peeled off, and then you can't reseal it. What do you do when you have something that didn't take you? You have to do it over.
usually when it doesn't take, it's because either both sides, both the body and the back of the rubber not cleaned. It must have been little residues or something on it.
I did the prep saw on it, wiped them down,
Okay.
but I guess my question is,
Now,
when you screw it up like I did,
Yeah.
and now you've got the glue stuck to the door, and what can you do now to try to repair, to get that seal back out, once it's already screwed up? I've got glue stuck to the door that's now basically dry.
Yeah.
The back of the rubber
It's all clean, basically.
is stuck, relatively clean. What do we do?
I would take maybe an undercloth, just scuff a little bit of the back,
Okay.
put another little layer of adhesive on the back,
Okay.
so they get tacky. As soon as it does that, put a second layer, and before it gets dry, put it on.
Okay.
Yes, what you just did right there.
Yeah.
The key is letting it get tacky. Wait.
And I should say to both sides, because the other side is dry, it's supposed to be, I put a little bit on that too, just so they get tacky.
Okay.
See now, if you do that, see how well it holds? The other one's supposed to be problem. Now, the same way if you
He's
use
like,
it,
I'll be damned.
yeah. And if you're using, the 3M self-adhesive type strip, then the secret here is you got to have whatever you put it on, it's got to be clean
Really?
and smooth. What I usually use is alcohol swab and to clean that area. And you put it on one time. Don't peel it back and then try to put it back. Every time you do that, just one time. It's got to be one time and it'll stick.
So that's better than prep saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I found alcohol it works real well because it evaporates real quick. Even lacquer works well because it evaporates real quick and doesn't leave a residue. No, you don't want to use it on your paint. That's why alcohol swab is the best one. That's what I use on. Well, couple things there. First, before you put anything on, make sure it fits, okay? Once you know
It's gotta fit, we
it's
got it
there.
from you.
Hmm?
It's gotta fit, we got it from you.
Yeah. Even for me, I don't assume nothing because, a lot of these parts are handmade basically. And an operator can make a mistake. So, the best thing is you find a mistake before you get into the job or it's too late. And then it becomes a much bigger problem. Because we can always adjust things. Now, if you're doing something with a truck, there you're not going to put it on both sides and put it just one side, a 60s, 70s truck, rubber just locks in place. So just a light bead to hold in place, and then around the corners where it has a little more pull, I take a little masking tape and tape it down and just let the thing sit overnight and you're good. Yeah.
What, by the foot, the door gasket, okay? OEM had, on the doors, had rotary latches. That was the first thing to get fixed on the car, replaced with bear claws. They were very specific about make sure your body lines, your door lines and all that are exactly where you want. Replace any bushings or pins or whatever. And I understood all that. So the bear claws are in now. And it'll probably be painted the next month or so in the door area that require the modifications. And then I put the gaskets in. The bear claws don't allow you a whole lot of adjustment. My question is, when it comes time to put the gaskets in, I'm worried that I'm going to have to slam the hell out of that damn door to latch it. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but
Do you still have any of the old rubber?
yeah.
Okay. Measure your old rubber and measure that new gasket. If that new gasket is more than a 16th greater than the old rubber, then I don't care what you have bear claws or what kind of latch you have. That thing's going to be a hard thing to close.
That's my point. I mean,
Yeah.
what is the procedure to do this? Did I do it backwards? Because you would waste a gasket putting it in.
Now, what you want to do is get your gap size. If you have the old rubber, that's why I said check the old rubber, because that one was already, already
It's more
sealed.
compressed.
So you know you need just slightly more than what the old rubber is to get a good seal. I'd say a 1/16 of an inch, you still go an 1/8 of an inch all the way around that door, that's an awful lot of pressure on the door.
A lot.
So if you don't have that, then what you would do is, what I do is I give it some, kid silly putty. If you don't have molding clay around, kid silly putty, put it in something like a saran wrap or something. Go around different areas, put it in, close the door, measure your gap. Do that around the door. And then check the rubber to see if that rubber is slightly more than that gap. Just a slight bit more. If you've got a big, huge variance, either one way or the other, it's either not going to seal or you're not going to close your door. That's the two alternatives.
Not much of a
If there's
choice.
too much rubber, it'll mess your doors up. In fact, I've seen it mess deck lids up because there's too much rubber in the deck lid that pops the deck lid. So it's amazing how much force sponge rubber has when it's allowed to spur, linear inches of it. When it's a little bit, you put it in there as a trial, no problem. You put it all around that thing, it becomes a problem if it's too big. Also, the density of the rubber. The rubber is very soft. Allows it. That might take the squeeze, but the question is, will it allow it to seal? Because some things are so soft that when you start going down the road and build a vacuum or whatever, it still allows air to get in, or water, or dirt, all the things that you don't want. So, it's important to look at the dimension that you get. We try to keep real tight dimensions on our rubber for what the originals were. But there's sometimes the stuff gets through that you don't realize got through. And you'll know it when you measure before you can put it on. And if there's any question, just give us a call and we'll let you know if we think it's going to be okay or not. If it's not okay, we've got 100% warranty on our stuff. And we'll go back and look and say, okay, what happened with that batch? Did something get out of tolerance? Because everything they do on an extruder, they have to match up to a 10 times drawing on a scope to make sure it matches.
I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't close the doors.
Yeah.
I've got months on those doors.
Mhm.
The latches.
Now, then just the latches you change, right? Nothing else. Yeah, so and if that door lines up properly, it should be no problem with that door measure. And if you did put it on and there's a problem, then that still will take care of it for you. We'll see if we can get some of the tender variants to be able to fit. If for some reason that was the right size, but you still have a problem. And the glue, as long as it's still fresh glue, you take some, it needs to be removed from 3M, and that'll take that off. And especially if you do it thin, it's a lot less glue to take off. You don't have to chisel it. Peel the stickers. That looks excellent. It's excellent on fiberglass. It's excellent on metal as long as it's smooth. Now, the other thing about peel and stick is, but rubber like this, it's made to take compression this way. If it's in a position where it's taking compression this way, then over a period of time, it's going to start peeling it back. So you got to look at the parts, see how you use it. If you're using it for some kind of universal purpose.
Any idea, this wouldn't be good restored, but the side glass wipes on contemporary cars over, say, the last 20, 25 years. I would love to use that in place of the outer whiskers.
Mm-hmm.
And the outer whiskers originally was stapled in place.
Yep.
And I used the 3M adhesive to put the whiskers in. But I would much rather have that. I would much rather have a product like that.
And that's what these pieces are.
Right.
They're all scraper sealed, and then the ones in the center, I believe, that's a tile line.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are scraper sealed too, yeah.
But those are defined usage per
And this is our
This is
No,
universal, right?
This is universal. This is for anything between the glass. Now, there again, you gotta make sure you have a real nice smooth surface to put that on. You know, if you look inside the door, a lot of times it's not as straight, it's got a lot of holes for your you know, clips and whatever, and as long as it's got all those voids, it's not gonna stick well. But if you know.
But that is peeling stuff.
Yeah, that's the peeling stick. But what we do have, that will answer that. Here's a scraper that we made that's got, it's got a brass spline there so it's not going to rust on you. And you just spot your holes where you need it, and you can clip them in. See? And we sell that on a longer line, so you can just cut it and make it the way you want it.
Oh, I wish I would have had this.
Yeah, so there's a, you know, as long as we know what your problem is, you know, we can help you find a solution. That's what we're here for. We're trying to find solutions for people.
Are you in Michigan? Okay.
Well,
You
it's
wouldn't
right
have, you wouldn't have, yeah, you're right now. You wouldn't have,
Connecticut.
well, it's just as cold.
Yeah.
No, I
You've
just-
had worse weather than we've had.
In my column, I have done numerous articles on the war between the old guy and Shane.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't think I'm ever gonna finish this damn car. So, yeah, let's solve that problem.
Well, the one thing you got is that we're all car guys and girls. You know, we have our own cars. We run into our own issues, and we have to find a way out of them. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, when we have...
Throw enough
something like
money
this,
and work
I
at it, you
learn-
don't care.
I learned from them. I'm surprised they learned stuff from me. They're a professional. I'm a professional making rubber cars. But, you know, when we work together, we find ways of simplifying solutions.
And that's one of the benefits. You know, the company, as you can see from that slide, has been around since 1958. I don't think a day goes by that somebody doesn't call and tell us a right or wrong usage of a part, because it's constantly in flux. The thing that's frustrating is when somebody goes to the website or they go somewhere else and they say, okay, they don't have a part for the car. Don't stop there, call. Because with 12,000 plus SKUs, there's something that might work. Being a manufacturer, even if you're customizing, we can always go and make tweaks here and there, and we can get what you need.
And, yeah, it's.
And,
Well, and the matching vehicles section too is really good too.
yeah, and we're, you know, we're not only a manufacturer, but we do our own design and tool work. Okay, so we have a full tool machine shop. So if we don't have a part, if you got a good original, we'll look at it and let you know what we can do. If you're not in a real rush, because unfortunately the timeline being the end, because we got lots of parts we're already making, you know, might take 6 months, a year to get something done. But if we decide to make your part, whoever donates a part always gets a free part, and you'll be the first one to try it and let us know how well it works, so we can go ahead and sell it to everyone else.
You're talking about, you know, the things that we can do. We can also, if you're taking out the division bar, we can make you the windshield gasket without the division bar. You decide you don't want chrome, we can usually make it for you without chrome. You're chopping the top. You can give us a template of dimensions, we can usually make that for you as well.
Yeah, give us
All one
glass.
piece.
Since we do everything, you know, from soup to nuts, basically, you know, everything from the design work on it, to the tooling, to the production, everything right there in-house. We've got, right now, we've got 3 extruders running. And one we do for a dense profile, another one we use for a sponge profile, and then we have one that we do a profile for the rubber that goes on the mold. And we do rubber, molded rubber, molded sponge. We also mold and splice, and that's where you make your windshield rubbers and the dense rubber. And we also splice, you know, sponge rubber. You know, something like this. We mold this onto the extrusion. Yeah, this is an extrusion. We build a template so we can drill it with the pins in, and then we mold this. And this particular one's got metal cores inside.
Do you supply to other distributors?
Yeah, we've got.
Give you an example. The stuff I bought for the Ford was from Autocraft, because I get all my old Ford parts for my 60s Ford.
And you don't know they came from Autocrafters. You know?
Yeah, I have no
I mean,
idea.
they came from Autocrafters, but I went through Carpenter, Some.
Well, that was my question.
And I think Carpenter is the only one that I know that's set up like us where at least they have their own production facility and very small tooling there. They usually tooling's all done on the outside. But he's got an extruder, he's got molds. His big thing right now is stamping licenses. And Ford licensing for stamping, so he does a whole bunch of stamping die stuff. That's the biggest thing that he's doing right now. But his Ford parts are pretty limited, and then they go up to about 72, and then that's it. Now, we do a variety of other Fords. We do the Lincolns through the 60s into the 70s, up to the Mark 7s. We do the Pinto,
We just did that.
Thunderbird, and Cougar from up to about early 90s.
No, 97.
To 97. We make all the parts for, for Thunderbird and Cougar, both that series and the series before.
We just finished the 74, years on that.
Oh, the LTD, the LTDs, 73, 4, 5.
At least 4.
Yeah.
It better be.
That's
It better be.
That was the donor graph.
Yeah, I was just saying, there's a 74 LTD sitting in our parking lot, so.
In fact, if anyone's interested in the 74 LTD.
Yeah, we'll be having a drawing.
We're getting into our next project, so, we're here. What we do is,
Yeah.
we'll take out project cars.
Has the chemistry of the product changed
Yes.
since OEM?
Oh, yes.
Now you have,
Probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it changed a long time ago. When we were making parts back in late 60s, early 70s, we were using compounds called EPDM. It's very long life, ozone resistant, and weather resistant. So if you were doing door weather strips or windshield rubber, that was a perfect rubber to use. And we do it, we don't put any fillers in our rubber. So if you were to cut the side, you'll see it's nice and smooth, no graininess, no nothing to it. There's no filler. That rubber lasts at least, I say, if you didn't take care of it, I know it'll last about 30 years. If you took care of it, it could last forever. We've got parts in a 31 Cadillac that we put in the 60s, late 60s, and all those parts still make the brand new parts. The only one of the manufacturers who was using that compound at the time was Chrysler. They were using better compounds than the rest, and the rest were using SBR. And that stuff, they want you in a new car after 2-3 years. If it sat out in the sun for 5 years, this stuff would start crumbling out. And then you had the junk that came in from Argentina and Taiwan, if you remember back in the old days, where it turned into clay inside the box before you had a chance to even use it. So, like I said, we'll restore it ourselves. We know it takes a long time to restore a vehicle. And once you get it restored, you want to keep it for a while. So this stuff is made to last. We don't have the same mentality as the OEs who try to get you in a new car. So, otherwise we just sell it just to the guys who are selling cars.
On a side note, it's just not the rubber pieces, some of the plastic pieces.
yes.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
Blend doors. A lot of people don't know what a blend door is, but it's all the contrivances that are under your dashboard. So you've got bi-level and the wife's toes went to 82 and she wants her hair to 73.
Right.
There's all these doors. They treated to making this out of plastic. Well, it's intense heat. You got cars in Alaska, here in Michigan. The doors fail. Just to pull the dash out of the car to get inside of it, $700. You can wind up $2,000-$3,000 in your Jeep, and there's 5 different doors in there, and it's a plastic door put in there.
They probably don't have 60 cents in the piece when they make it.
And they're failing at a rate. New Dodge trucks, new Jeeps actually. It's not really our line, but because we have access to stuff, we started making those front doors out of extruded aluminum as a replacement. And the guy that's making them for us here in Michigan, he has sold for failure rate something like 80,000 pieces of Chrysler and Jeeps alone.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got a Jeep they're failing. You can't get your defrosters to work. You can't get your air to come out. And you're still got a payment coupon up to three years left in your car. And the Chrysler goes, this is a huge problem. And it's plastic junk. It disintegrates.
And it's warranted. Or they wouldn't be selling it to Chrysler.
Well, Chrysler's killing it at a certain year. Now it's on your own. Now you're on your own. If it fails fast, it's on your own. But this is terrible.
There's advances being made in rubber all the time.
That's why.
And of course, when you talk about rubber, people go, well, that's natural rubber, right? It's probably not a piece of natural rubber. rubber, not how many years, rubber bands are anything I know, like natural rubber. They're all synthetic, but still all carbon, hydrogen bonds. They still have life cycles. It's just that they have a lot of prohibitors put in it to make that life cycle very long. We're just, in fact, we're just changing now to a new breed of sponge rubber. It's still going to have the same properties as far as life and everything. But the nicest part about it is it will look really nice and shiny for one. So it has a real good appearance. It adheres real well to APDM. And in the production cycle, with regular sponge, you have the heating, where it takes and triggers and cures, and then you have to cool it before you remove it, because the air pockets in here, if you remove it hot, would just blow it apart. So you have to cool it down before you open it. But this new rubber, you don't have to cool, you don't have to quench. It just automatically, it just keeps its shape and still has a sponge feel to it, look beautiful. And so we've been experimenting with it for about 6 months now, and I think we're just about done with our testing because we want to make sure it's going to work. And I think we're going to start converting some of our sponge rubbers to that to make it even a nicer looking part.
So it's on the side note, because I can't imagine how many parts you're selling to send it for LPD, but somebody made a decision they're going to make that. What's your rule of thumb that you're just going to make everything eventually that there was, and you do short-run tooling, or 74 gallons?
Yes, that's a question. We
I can't remember
we
last
make
time I
parts
saw
that, they're so-called A-list parts, B-list, C-list, all A-list parts were made a long time ago, and everybody's commoditizing them, and they're not, you can't make money on those parts. That's Mustang, Camaros, Chevelles. The prices keep going down, 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 and you just get squeezed because production costs keep going up. So you have to keep looking at ways of reducing that production cost. And that's where you're looking at production costs. The material is only a very small fraction. Most of it's all in time and labor. And if you can take that cycle time and keep shrinking the cycle time out of it, then you can start, keeping the margin you need to keep in order to make it worthwhile to carry the parts. As far as the other ones, I would say 20% of our parts carry the other 80%. I mean, we make parts for, Duesenberg, We sell one every 5-6 years. So we're never going to make, we're never going to get rich on that Duesenberg. Yeah. But any other questions?
Yeah, quick one.
Yeah.
When I look at your universal parts, especially you've got dense rubber and sponge rubber. Now, for instance, wrapping around the collar.
Yeah.
Car like 39. Where that came with what I call the juice style, the old.
Yeah, the web. Yeah,
the web,
that's right.
How do you know which one is going to be a better application? I know that the sponge is softer to the kid. You don't want to work the edge of your hood, but which one, how do you make a determination which one would be the right application when you're picking a universal product?
On your 39, you probably had, I would say, probably a quarter, 3/16 to a quarter inch bead on that.
Maximum.
Yeah, and I would use the dense rubber one, because that's what that stands at. But we made the sponge one because some have a little tighter, distances in between. So yeah,
So if I have enough clearance, I use the hard rubber. If I don't, I can use the sponge rubber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me the one. Or you can use the wet. Yeah, but the wet material is a lot different.
I could always write down.
Or there's there's other ways to, you take the hood decal stuff that the Ford used, because they didn't use the web, they used the rubber, because basically it's the same height, it has a little bead on it, so it'll fit that single little beady part. It's just that they were held on with clips, so you need to make a way to hold it down.
What about the material between, for instance, the body with their fenders, that rubber?
The fender well,
The fender, yeah, you guys make that.
we have that too. Now, we don't make it, but we do have it. We have the vinyl with the cloth backing on it. And there again, the size depends on what you want. As far as you want to keep it original, because you want to make, a carriage or trying to get a higher point, then usually your lower model cars, your Chevys, Pontiacs, the 88s and those, whatever had the big V's.
Yeah,
And the more expensive cars had the smaller V's. But,
you know, you buy this as a universal product, set it, drill it.
Is there a picture you want to have? Yeah, it's a universal product.
Which one do you want? I've got all of them.
Just in your, I think right here, that. See, this guy's a little,
I get it. Yeah, I went too fast.
okay, and, trying to think, okay, that's basically what it looks like.
Right.
Yeah, and then you would cut your little back cuts to go around your bolts and things of that sort.
Yeah.
And that vinyl stuff, I find, is also paintable. So if you have a car that you want to make all, same body color, you can paint right over it.
That has a nice flex for the roll.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you've got a big severe turn, that's where you make your little V cuts in the back.
Yeah, I do. It's literally more than 90-degree total
Yeah.
on the back.
Yeah, so that should have no problem.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
bought your,
it fits a lot of parts.
I purchased your chrome welting,
Yeah,
and I was afraid that it was gonna bunch up as it made, especially where it drops down in front of the rear
Yeah.
fender. I kept anticipating problems, and I did pie cuts, and I love the look of it.
yeah, because those pie cuts, what it does is it allows you to make that turn with it and without having anything bunch up.
Right.
Yeah.
It fits great, and I drew the fender bolts in uniformly rather than just tighten up here.
Mhm.
So that allowed that to,
Yeah,
great product. And that was universal.
yeah.
If there's 60, how long is each roll?
Oh, we've got a 25-foot roll.
Yeah, this
Oh,
one's just
okay,
the,
yeah. So you can buy one roll to your whole car.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Usually, if it's early, 30s car,
39, yeah.
yeah, okay, because you just have it just along the bottom of your front fenders.
No, the front fender,
Your,
yeah, there's actually where the side.
yours will be 25 feet, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I'll measure it up before I go.
Yeah.
And you can always check on here too to make sure it fits.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You'll scroll forever. A
Yeah.
million cars use that stuff.
Yeah.
39. No, back up 39, there you go. Cadillac, same, yeah, let's see,
Series
there's
50, Series 50 right there.
Series 52 north.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it.
Cadillac, you've got it right there. Keep going.
Again, I have my credit card machine right here with me.
I'm going to stand.
That works for me.
Why has he told you that twice? No one else.
They told me before.
I'm not as pushy.
Oh.
But she'll take care of it too.
Yeah,
Yeah. But as you can see, there's a ton of stuff here, so, we've had a lot of experience putting a lot of stuff together, so. Use this as a resource. When you're not sure of something, just call us and ask us.
We refer
Yeah,
people
even-
all the time to.
Yeah, and if we can't answer, or we don't know anything about
How
it,
can you
we'll
get-
turn you, hopefully in the right direction to somebody. who can.
Like, let's say the door kits. Are they available? Because I haven't really looked into yours too much. Are they available, you have to buy for all four doors? Or you get
No,
one,
usually we'll
two,
break it
or-
down, do the front doors and the rear doors.
Okay.
We'd like you to buy in pairs.
Right.
If you want to separate a pair.
I don't know if you had to
we'll
get the
do it,
doors
but-
and the trunk lid, or, I wasn't looking to see
We
that.
can kit or we can not kit. We can do it either way for you. Usually if you kit, we'll do it.
I did look into
Combine,
like
we
a
give this-
whole car kit or whatever, and I probably had a hard thing. I thought it was,
Hopefully that will save the price.
well, it was a little much for me at the time.
Well, we can, work with you on whatever, but, right now,
I mean,
I've got a
it's a
budget.
nice car, but it's not a nice car.
Yeah,
You know?
a lot of guys, including myself, I work on a little piece at a time. And usually over several years, trying to get the project done. And so, we know that's what most of the guys do. Very few people can afford to just go on a project and just spend 6
Well,
months, a year to get it done. you know, in a shop's a little different, and your job is to get it done, and somebody's paying you to do that, so.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you're married, you can't do it all at once. You gotta hide.
Now, I think we're probably the only shop in there. Did you have a shop too, or?
It's not that, I do this as a hobby.
Oh, okay, yeah, the rest of these guys pretty much do it on their own too. But as a shop, we got programs too, you know, to help you figure out how much, you know, how to quote the rubber part of a project.
Oh, okay.
So you can get it right at the very beginning when you're starting to put together your quote for somebody, you know, you can tell us, hey, I got this car, this year just make about, you know, style. And we can tell you, well, you know, depending on what you're doing with it, this is what it's gonna run. Then give you a whole list, and you know, list you can show your customer, this is all the things I think we need to do. So, you know, we work with the shops a lot and help them in that process. And then that list will be there, and you can get it all at one time, you can get it as you go through the project. You know, we know that we're probably the last thing you do to a project before it goes out the door. But, you know, what we find is also, a lot of times they don't think about what they need to do before they get into the project. It's always at the tail end. So, you know, what I tell anybody, whether it's a restorer that's doing his own car or a shop, never throw anything away till the project's done. And because sometimes you need to have it for reference. And the second part is, if you're putting something together, plan the whole project out before you start. And make sure that what you need is available to you before you start.
Well,
I've had so many people just go to the
Just
end of the
presume they
project,
could
and all
get
of a
it.
sudden they go, man, I didn't know I couldn't find that nobody makes it, you know.
Then you gotta
What
go
do I
to the
have to do?
customer.
What can I do, you know?
Yeah,
You
say
know?
I have $500, I gotta pay $500 for an NOS gas.
Or you can't even find an NOS, and then you ask them, well, can we look at your original? Maybe I can get you something. No, I threw all that away. So you just put yourself behind the rock. There's no place to go. You know,
I would say just take pictures too, so when you get your part later, try to remember how to put it back on.
yeah, but that, here.
I've had to upgrade my storage on this.
No.
I just keep transferring it to the computer and make that older.
You can throw this down, but it's probably no use to him in the shop. The number one thing I had learned in the process of this actual project is buy food storage bags by the gross and 3x5 cards.
Yep.
Uh,
What a godsend.
What you do is you take a 3-ring binder, and everything you do, you log down, you gotta document it, and you just put that next step, page on top of page on top of page. When you're ready to put it together, you just go from the front to the back, and you got everything in, you're able to put it together.
And with the exception of this gentleman here who runs the shop, if your wife is watching what you're doing, do not keep track of the cost of the bill.
No.
Because you told her you were doing that whole thing for
She's let me
$500.
finish this because the car's for her.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have never happened.
I am glad to meet you.
Right?
She got a sister.
40 years, she never went.
Yes, any questions? Because we don't want to run you past. We're right
Yeah,
on time.
yeah.
Especially those, if you're interested in reselling, commercial dealer, all that, join it definitely. If you're interested in information about a company and that sort of thing, I can help you with that. And if you're interested in somebody to come and install your gasket, that's that.
Just put me out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But like I said, utilize this as a resource. Don't think of this as just a rubber seller. We can be a resource for you. And, and we've got a lot of people that work for us that have a lot of technical knowledge. So,
Yeah, we have to end now, because my power's gone.
okay. And I think we're close, we're already.
Yeah, I think they just turned the lights out on me.
Be sure to fill out your little slips, because I know
Yes,
she
I would
wants
love
them.
to know.
She won't let you out the door without them.
You're just standing
And I
there.
appreciate
Yes,
Appreciate
you.
you coming